Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood artist, and I'm joined with hubby.
Okay.
Happy New Year! Yay! Alrighty, so we are going to jump in to our portraits. Now, I have left my pattern on, taped down, just because I wanted to do a real quick check, make sure I got everything, I'm not missing anything, information that I want. This is what my pattern looks like. And what I've done, actually, if you see these little tabs, because sometimes when you tape over the board like this, it'll not stay put and it won't, it'll move around. I actually cut some tabs and folded them down, and that way there's actual tape touching the wood. So that could help. Today we are starting with the eyes, and by the look of it, I should be pretty on. Now, because this is a 3/4 view, this eye is going to look different than the eye closest to us, and none of our faces are perfectly symmetrical. There's always a little bit off. That's why we have a good side and a bad side for the camera. And I'm just going to make sure. I had a hard time because Grandma's picture is all cracked, so I had to make sure I was following the actual information and not the cracks. Hey Andrea, Midnight, thank you for letting me know I didn't change the time on the live. I scheduled it too early. Barb, Sharon, Marlise, is that it?
That's correct.
Okay. I know I saw somebody's earlier that I'm missing. Sheila! There we go. All right, here, you can have that. So I'm already heating up to 2, and I've got the spear shader in, but I'm actually going to switch over to the medium.
Burrow's here.
Hey, Burrow. Medium ball tip. And I'm going to do that because, one, I was heating up the wrong pen, and I don't want to touch that. It's a bigger area, so I'll get a little smoother burn. There we go. Make sure I'm on the right side. I got my cords mixed up. Alright, now we're good. I hope everybody had a good New Year. There we go. I'm just going to heat that up for a second. This is basswood. I have the link down in the description. This is one of the pieces I had to cut. So this is an 8x10 that I cut, and it's the 1/4 inch thick. If you've tried to use my code in the new year and it didn't work, Ahmed has fixed it for us. So now it's good for 10 years.
Moritz is here.
Hey, Moritz.
He can't stay, though.
Oh, okay.
Sorry I've been on, Moritz. My sleep schedule is all jacked up.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's get in. I had it pulled out so that you could see closer to the color for the wood. But when I zoom in, the light changes. So I'm going to carefully, and I'm set on a little hair over 2, and I'm doing that. I hate running late because then I get shaky because I have the adrenaline dump. I'm not going full dark yet. Grandma has light eyes, and even though her pupils are going to be extremely dark, I want to have room to adjust. So get that in there. I could have done this also with the small ball. Get that in there. I have a little room for my highlight. Now her eye on this side does look a little off, and it's just the angle she's sitting and how the light's hitting her. So I'm going to try to even it out a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my 18S spear shader, and we're going to put in the creases because that's going to be the darkest part of the eyes. And if I have that in there, I have my shape in there. So I'm switching over to that. Same heat setting. You'll see the difference just between 2 pins. They can have the same heat setting and be a little different in their shading. All right, let's get me a good angle here. Up we go. Whew. Get everybody dizzy. Alrighty. Okay, deep breath because I'm shaky. I hate running late. Hate it, hate it, hate it. And I'm hot. Alright. Test again. Not only am I testing, I'm pulling heat from my tip so I don't get a blob, and I can get a nice, I can get a smoother burn. Now I'm not outlining. This shadow right here is a thin shadow, and I'll go back and lower the heat later and put it in, because right here is the darkest and this is lighter. I meant to post having Grandma here on the board in the group so I could see what everybody else is doing, but it was after midnight last night that I got her on the board. Alright. Yeah, that is off. Shaking too much. But then again, I always shake when I first start a burning. A little bit of that nerves of, oh no, am I gonna mess up? What's the worst that can happen if we mess up? We try again. It is not the end of the world. Life as we know it doesn't stop, and I am off on that line. But since I know I'm having a problem, I'm just gonna move to a different area until I can get my hand to calm down. See, she has a dark line here, and I don't know if it's a lash. I couldn't ever figure it out in Photoshop. And that is part of the problem of working with an old photo. You just don't know what some of the things are. So go in lighter until you can kind of get a better idea of what it is. So I've bumped down to 1.5 because I'm going to start putting in. And see, the reason the eyes are darker is I went back over my pattern with graphite so you guys could see it.
Oh, Spence is here.
Hey, Spence. Oh, he wasn't sure if he was going to make it. Uh-oh. Wonder if that means he didn't get his thing done. Now, on our eyes, most people have a darker ring around the outer. I can't even think of the name of the color.
Iris.
Yes, iris. Yes, iris. I got pupils stuck in my head. So we can go a little darker with that now. Grandma has light eyes, so I need to make sure I keep the burning lighter for her eyes. And the eyes and the irises are always round. Granted, mine aren't round, but that's what my glasses are for. I am actually going to bump down to a little below 1. Because this is basswood, and I'm using the edge of the pin, it burns darker. I need a drink, I'm hot. So I'm going to turn down my heat. And I do have a scrap piece of wood from what I've cut off to test on. And that way I know it's going to be a very similar burn. If you can do that, if at all possible, it always helps. So let's lightly shape Grandma's eye, and I'm going to stick with this eye. That way I'm not moving around so much. Now we do have eyelashes, so she had blonde eyelashes and blonde eyebrows. As a kid, I do remember she wouldn't leave the house without mascara and lipstick. She did not like... Oh, and drawing in her eyebrows. She did not like having her eyebrows so light. So even going to the grocery store, Grandma had to draw in her eyebrows. So I'm going to find a small eraser.
Yeah, Spence had to go to the dentist and has to go back next week to get things done. X-rays were today.
Oh. Putting him off too much. He's got a cracked tooth.
Oh.
With one part of it moving.
Ouch. I've been there.
Yeah. So all I'm doing is touching down and dragging towards the pupil. And that gives us a little bit of the flex that we have in our eyes. The flex. It's not like flexing muscles, but... See, I'm off on my roundness. Because in the photo, is more round. I'm going to fix it. Once I put in other shading, this will look closer. And I should have printed out a bigger photo. You guys can see better than I can.
Val Daniels is here.
Hey, Val.
Isn't that weird saying your own name?
I was just thinking it. It is.
So casually.
Ovals to start putting in. I went pretty dark on here. So what this tells me, because I went pretty dark on this, I'm going to have to make sure in my other shadows that I go dark. Or it's going to look like I outlined it and won't fit right. So see, even at 1.5.
So Marley's is asking about portraits with teeth.
With teeth.
Yeah, and if you have any portraits that you've done that show the teeth, because a lot of people do have trouble with the teeth.
I probably should do just a straight live on teeth.
I believe we've done somewhere. You've done a
Well,
mouth, though.
A little bit with the skull, but I don't know if I did one specifically on the teeth on that one.
I think you did a mouth a while back. The thing with the
I
teeth,
did. Oh yeah.
The thing with the teeth is because it's an interior structure, so the teeth curve, and people think of teeth as being white, and when they draw them, they end up looking like piano keys, and they're actually, there's a lot of nuance there, so a lot of shading, and they're not white. They're
teeth are never white.
Much darker. Even if somebody has really white teeth, they're usually in shadow. And yeah, if you think that they're the whitest thing and you draw them that way, then it ends up looking like headlights. You're
and or dentures where they're like,
yeah,
that's not what you want. You have to follow the shadows on the tooth.
Yeah.
On each tooth, and you don't draw lines because that also. See, I went way too dark, and it's gonna bug me.
Well, Midnight Joker is agreeing with Marlies. Teeth are always hard.
Yeah, I will just have to do a standalone, just not even on the lips, just focusing on the teeth.
Yeah.
Alright, so I went too dark. And all this is 400. Is my 400? Yep, my 400. Wrapped around a sanding stick, and I do that so I have better control over the sandpaper. Let's see, this got down into the wood. So next, and here I'm just using the tip of the knife. I'm not digging into it, I'm just scraping.
Kathy Grimes says morning.
Morning, Kathy.
Marlene says yes, a standalone would be great, thanks. Val Daniels says, okay, I'm noticing you're using a circular motion for the smooth shaded area. I struggle with the overlapped areas being a different shade. Any tips on how to get it a consistent color?
Start off light and just keep layering it. And smoothing it out. I always do ovals for the most part for my shading. But I try to start, in general, unless it's a really dark area, start light. Like this was 1.5. So even though I use the knife, I still need to go back with the sandpaper and smooth out the scratches.
Yeah.
If I'm going to mess up, 10 to 1 is going to be right in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I mess up all the time. All the time. In fact, most of the time after a live, I stop and look, and I pick up everything I missed. And I have to fix it. Alrighty. So that is lighter once we put, and I can feel Yeah, so you feel the...
Sorry about the coughing.
You okay?
Yeah, just...
Even this is still too dark. I will blend it. Darken this. See, I'm moving quickly. I'm not sitting very still in an area. I'm moving around.
Val wants to know what grit of sandpaper are you using to smooth out the scratches?
400. I use the same grit that I used for my finishing sand. And I always sand a 400. So, and I try very hard not to get divots. So I sand a bigger area, because if I just stay in the one area, then we'll get an indent because we've been working that one area. Now I've got my pen on the side, and I'm using the side tip to just softly drag up the eyelashes. And there's a little bit of curve to my hand, but you really may not be able to pick it up. Eyelashes are never straight. They curve. So okay, without burning myself, so I will put a hot pen down. So if this is the eyelid, it starts at the base of the eyelid and it curves out into a very U-like check mark. And they overlap and they group. They are never just straight up, except for when you hit the pinnacle of the eye right about here and you have to change directions. It'll be a tighter curve and then it'll loosen up again. So that is how you do, because if you're just doing it this way, it looks very fake and it almost looks like grass on eyes. So you need to flick, do a U and flick, U and flick. That would really hurt with a hot pen.
I'm sure that when you first did that, people were concerned. I was concerned. I was like, oh.
No. I almost did it, but I wasn't going to touch my finger, and then I decided not to. And so I'm just using the tip and going into ovals so that it's smaller. And so this is definitely going to have to be darker. And following the shapes. And the same darkness is going to go down her nose, but we are not going to go that far because that is going to be next week. Like me, Grandma had hooded lids on her eyes so that hers weren't quite as bad as mine. Sometimes I don't like my hooded eyes.
I like your eyes.
It sucks for makeup. For me. Curve and check, curve and check. And I'm using this pen because it's making a thicker line. And try to make it as random. And it does come down over the whites of the eye. Less so over here. I'm just going to tap in. And then the eyelash, or I'm sorry, the eyelid creates a shadow that casts over the eye. You really need that shadow. Sometimes it'll look like maybe the eyelashes are thick, but part of it is incorporating that shadow. Tip out. And as I keep building, it'll start, hopefully, fingers crossed, looking right. Corner of the eye, we do have a junction, so we need to tap that in a little darker, but don't go crazy. And then under her eye, because let's see here, the way the light is hitting Grandma in the photo is she is a bit backlit over here, but our biggest amount of light is hitting her forehead area, which means it's an overhead, possibly angled light like this coming down. So we got most of our shadows down at the bottom with a bit of backlighting hitting the side of her chin. So this area is going to be a little darker, but because the photo is actually cut at an angle, lighting wise, because the photo is old, we really should pay more attention to this side on the shadowing and get this and this equal, because this, whatever's lit here, is going to be similar here. She doesn't look like she doesn't have a light coming directly across. It's angled this way. The cheek curves out, so we're going to have some shading under here. We're going to have some shading under here, and then we're going to have our cheekbone that's going to be brighter. And then the shadow goes down into the nose and then creates the cheek. Now you'll see I have all these dots. These are the shadows that I laid out, but I didn't want lines. These are easier to erase. And when I see these, it's like, okay, I know I've got a shadow in here. That is a cue to my brain. I have a shadow versus, say, a hard line right here. So that's why I do it that way. It also means less graphite to try to get rid of under the light burn. There we go. And remember, when you first start burning, that one area, even though I did go dark here, is always going to look darker because everything around it is lighter. As we put in more darks and bring things together, it will not look as dark. But it's sometimes hard to visualize that. And I had to remind myself of that. Because like right now, I'm like, my brain's yelling, too dark, too dark. But it's okay. It'll be okay. Brain, chill. It'll live. It'll work. So where we have some light, we have the water line where some light is hitting it. And lashes don't come from the actual water line. It comes at the base of the skin. This is one angle going this way, and then we got an angle going this way on the face. And the bottom lashes come off that angle, not off that top. So if you put the eyelashes on the bottom too close to this line, it makes it look really harsh and off. So we have to keep, in fact, I'm going to go down to half. I'm down to half. 0.5 on heating.
Yes, Beryl, all the prizes were claimed.
Yes, they were all claimed. Yay, I didn't have to do it again. That was frustrating last time, having to keep drawing new winners. Now the whites of the eye are like the teeth. They are never fully white. Her photo does look like it, but it's going to have highlights in the middle where, see, we have our eye shine. Let me grab, I'm going to put that in. So that tells me the light is hitting here from the top. You're getting a reflection. She doesn't have the other reflection on the other side, the opposite side. That's fine. So more than likely, our brightest white is going to be right in here. And so we're going to have light burn underneath and then our shadow on top. And this is a General's charcoal white. It is safe to burn around. The only color safe to burn around. Although when you do burn on it, if you burn directly on it, it will gray out the burn versus making it a nice brown. So if at all possible, remove it if you don't want that. Alright. I could use a smaller tip to get in here, and I might have to switch out. And bring this down. I can always thin out this line. I'm just trying not to hit the graphite because I don't want it harder to remove. Now, if you've never done a portrait before, I do not recommend doing an old one first, because there's just so much things to work out in a regular portrait that's already, a good photo and clear. To do an old photo, really, it's not that you can't do it, because you absolutely can. It's just going to create more frustration, and you may not want to finish it because of that frustration. So it's just better off to start a little easier in regards to portraits, and then do a couple, and then give something like this a try. That eraser was the Vanish 4-in-1 eraser. This is my favorite. I have the Mono Zero and the sanded eraser. I don't like this as much. I like my Vanish. Alright, so we got some graphite off. Let's see.
So when you're looking at an old photo as opposed to a new photo, I think that a new photo is like seeing, if it's a good photo for a portrait, it's like seeing a math equation where all the numbers are there, so you can see how all the numbers relate to each other. In an old photo, it's kind of like there's a lot of numbers missing.
You got a lot of letters with your numbers.
You gotta figure out what they mean and where they go, and the older it is and the less quality it has, less of the equation is actually there, and it makes it harder to figure out.
I'm just gonna
metaphor.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. There's nothing wrong with starting simpler. I mean, if you're very new to burning, I still think you should do a portrait. Just don't go for an older black and white like this where you're not used to discerning details. And remember, just because we knew the person and looked at them all the time, it's better to follow your reference photo, because the camera is going to pick up things that your eye never did.
That's true. In fact, when you do a portrait of anybody, including yourself, you may see things that you've never really noticed.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I recommend doing it, because then your brain starts going, oh, I thought I knew.
So, Teresa is here. She just made
it. Hey, Teresa. Yeah. These pupils are definitely going to go a lot darker. And even though I'm on a half, I'm at 0.5 on the setting, because I'm going slow and keeping the pen in contact with the wood, it's burning darker. Even at that setting. See, now her curve on her, I can't see it on that one. You know what I'm going to do? I don't know how well this is going to work. I need to cut it down a little bit. It's just so I can see a little bit better. Let me pop something off. Alright, let's see here. Though I just cut it. I don't want to. I'm trying to zoom in for me. Because what I should have done is, I'm going to do this. I don't want it out that far in the burning, but we shall do that. I should have printed out just her eyes so that I could have zoomed in and seen. Alright, so we got the shadow here. That's what I was looking for, was this shadow. That helps define the waterline in the eye. Use too much of that tip. And then the eyelashes will go a little darker, but not overly dark. Like I said, there's a shadow. And instead of drawing a line, I will tap. And that'll make it less harsh.
Sorry.
What?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. I was looking up at the camera.
I thought I distracted you.
No, I was looking up at the monitor. Because this line can go up. Put some shading in here. Cut down that white. Again, I know the photo shows white, but part of doing portraits or knowing the rules of drawing people.
Yeah.
Alright, we're starting to get there a little bit. So the highlight's hitting here. I'm gonna bring this down. Again, I'm still on half because of how I'm holding the pen. It's just the bottom part of. Let's see here. I can touch it with this. When I say I'm using the bottom part, I'm using about that much or less. Blend out the shadow. This does go. And see, I've got a couple of new pens that I'm testing out that would actually be really good for this, but I can't use them on camera yet. So let's get the cheek, and where the nose and cheek go under. So that curve kind of goes up and down. Trying to get the shape right. And I feel...
Marlies wants to know, is that the 18M or the 18S?
The S. I've been using this a lot more.
Why is that?
It burns differently. That's all.
Ah.
Sometimes you get into a groove where there's one pen that you grab first. And if you notice, other than using the ball tip for the pupils, I haven't touched another pen yet. Though on basswood, for shading, the spoon shaders are definitely coming out. They do a really good job, especially on basswood. Bring this line down. See, I really, had double vision for a minute. I thought I had two lines there.
Oh.
I was like, I really screwed up. I got two lines.
Well, we are at 11:36 right now. So I don't know how much longer you want to go.
Well, let's see if we have any questions.
Okay.
Right now, it looks like he's got heavy makeup. He doesn't. His light burns. That as I put the rest of her face around her, it will look lighter. Let's see here. Don't drop. Alrighty. And I'm going to click this off because it's right in the middle. So Grandma is on the board. She started. Let's see if we got any questions. You don't need to have the 18S, Marlies. If you're used to the 18M, then by all means. Where is my M? I need to get a new pen holder. I got too many. I'm missing a pen. How am I missing a pen?
I don't know.
Is there any pens sitting over there? Because I was taking photos. I'm missing a pen.
It's not one of the ones that that Pat asked for back.
No. You know what? Did I?
don't see any pens.
I had pulled it out to compare it to a new one. And that's not it. It's right here. Duh.
Okay.
I should have looked for my double holder. So that's the difference between the two. It's just this one curves up a hair that you can't tell but you can feel. And it just heats differently. So if you don't have it, you don't have to have it. In fact, for portraits, now I don't have all my spoon shaders because those I sent back to be retipped. But the spoon shaders do really good shading for portraits. And this is the biggest one, the extra large. I don't have my other 3 here because I asked Pat to retip mine because mine were the testers and it was kind of confusing people that they look different than like on the website and stuff. So I asked him to retip them so they look like everybody's. Plus I can make sure they burn the same. Alrighty.
Marley says, I think I need to buy the 18S before a portrait.
We got that.
Kathy says her eye looks amazing.
Thank you.
And Marley...
It's got more to go. That's the basis. It's just going to be building it up more and more.
I'm assuming you're reading.
I'm trying to. My eyes are a little blurry. I got an eye exam and new glasses coming January 14th.
So Marley says, I haven't been burning that long, so I can't say that I'm used to anything.
Okay.
It just seems like you can burn smaller, tighter areas also for...
Yes.
Burl is chiming in that she loves her 18S. Marlies doesn't have any spoon shaders. Which would you recommend to start with?
I would start with the extra large.
And Val had the same question.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I would start with the extra large. What a spoon shader is think of it as a larger version of a ball tip, but it heats differently. You need less heat to heat up a spoon shader than you do a ball tip because of how the metal is distributed. So you figure, where is it? This is my extra large ball tip. I don't have my spoon shader, my small spoon shader, but a small spoon shader would be the next size up from the extra large ball tip and then the medium, and this is where it maxes out. So it does. Oh shoot, fire.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Wrong tip.
Oh.
That's the ball tip.
So, Cindy Van Nostrand says that she knows now that she's in way too much of a hurry. Yes. Can't wait to get started on her project.
Yay.
Cindy Van Nostrand. That's a vampire name.
It's a cool vampire name.
Yeah.
He could hang with Nausea.
Yeah, with the exciting shit. Let's see. Oh, Kathy wants to know, can you use a writing tip for shading in small areas?
Sure, you can. You just turn down your heat and move the pen quickly because ball tips are notorious for making the little dots. So I'd be careful with that. I'm trying to think. It really depends on what you're using it for. For a portrait, it will be a little harder because it does... when you use the... This is my test strip that I was using. Let's see here. I am going to use the medium that I already have on. Sorry, guys. Bit of a headache and eyes are blurry.
Oh, we're well past.
I know. I'm just going to show the difference. You saw the shading on the eye here and how it was a little smoother. With a ball tip, you do...
Oh, Shirley wishes that she could have bought the tester shaders because she likes them better than the new style.
Oh, they're harder for Pat to make. That's why he changed them. So, I have bumped down to 3. That was 4. So when I'm using a ball tip to shade, you just really need to go quickly and move over the same area. When I go down to 2, that was 3. With the bigger top ball tips, you'll see it more. If you've got a smaller ball tip, it does work better. But I would go in circles this way because anything else you get the starts and stops that you have to try to blend out. So in going over and over.
No, Cindy, vampire name's cool. Don't go back to Bill is my horse, please.
But you do have to worry about sometimes a pattern starting. But as long as you move it quickly and go over. You can blend it out. Because if I don't, and if I just go in...
I would think that a spoon shader would be a lot more forgiving.
It is.
Because you don't have to worry about digging in, like with a ball. With a ball, like, you do have the...
There we go. See, we can see some of the pattern.
Yeah.
It's not as smooth, so it really needs to be overlapped. Think of it as a flower that you're blooming out further and further. But we still get some texture. And sometimes, and if it's like that for the whole piece, it works. If it's not the whole piece and it's a small area, it can stand out. So it does take a little practice. So just take a scrap piece of wood as close to the wood you're going to be working on, and just practice some of those strokes, and then you'll have an idea of what it's going to look like on your actual piece. Thank you, Teresa. So if we don't have any more questions...
If you don't like the vampire, you could be a vampire hunter, if that suits you better.
Yeah, that'll work too. That'll work too. But he giving you a winky face. He doesn't realize how much we love the show, what we do in the shadows.
Yeah. And
Naja is like the awesomest character. So it's a compliment when I say you can hang with that name with Naja. Alrighty. Don't forget to hit the like button. Oh, let's say hi to our 2 negative Nancys. And if your name's Nancy, I'm sorry. Say hi.
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 Why is there 2?
Because we've been getting 2 thumbs down for about 6 weeks now.
Oh, I see the one, but I didn't...
Oh, the one's showing up?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the interacting. It tells YouTube you want to see it more. Works for me.
Yep.
So next week, we will work on the nose, followed by the lips and cheeks. Then we'll go on to the hair. And the hair, we might need to make that a little longer video, because hair
is longer.
Yeah, in this case, yes, it is longer, but to help them feel more comfortable with it.
That makes more sense.
Yep. And then we'll go on to the sweater, which does have texture, the pearls, and then we'll finish it up. Hopefully we can get this done in a month. If not, if it takes longer, that's okay. We just get to learn more. No, go away. Go away. Go away. Can you take this outside?
Yep.
Answer it, please.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry about that. You know what to say.